Hello everybody, my name is David, this is David K Reacts, and today we're doing a couple of cool new things. Firstly, this is my first reaction recorded on the microphone that was purchased from my Buy Me a Coffee donations. Thank you very much indeed to those who contributed to this. Hopefully this is going to make my sound significantly better, also because I had to return the microphone I had been borrowing. This will now be mine, and hopefully everything will be a lot more consistent than it has been recently. And secondly, this is going to be my first ever double bill, by which I mean I've done two things before, but I'm actually going to do something a little different. Today I'm reacting to VoicePlay performing My Mother Told Me and Valhalla Calling, which I understand are kind of part one and part two in many ways, possibly literally. I'm not 100% sure on that. Folks have mentioned it in my sort of comments and suggestions. I couldn't tell if that was a literal thing or if it's just because they're connected. Regardless, what I'm going to do today is I'm actually going to react to both videos first, which I don't normally do. Normally I would record one and then record the other and come on, but I think there might be some interesting things to put in if they are in fact part one and part two. I think it could be interesting to do it this way round, so I'm going to have a go and see how it works. I know VoicePlay just came up recently, but that was honestly because I had to throw an emergency video in. This was always going to be my next reaction to them, and so I'm just kind of reinstating the order as if that sort of bonus video hadn't disrupted it. So very much looking forward to these. They've been hugely hyped up to me, and unusually, actually, they've been hyped up in such a way that I don't actually know much about them, which will be interesting. A lot of the time people share cool things about them, which is awesome, but it also means I come in perhaps knowing a couple of the tricks. I'm not sure. This time I don't. I have absolutely no idea what to expect other than Old Norse style music. One of these is literally an Old Norse piece. The My Mother Told Me was originally written way back when, and I'm going to get this name wrong, possibly, hopefully not, by Egil Skallagrímsson as part of his Lausa Visur. This is number 3, found in chapter 40 of the Egil saga. I'm not even remotely going to attempt to pronounce it in its original language, but it was translated for use in the TV show Vikings in 2013. I therefore have heard it, because I have seen most of Vikings, but I don't recall the song, to be honest. Is it the theme tune even? I honestly don't remember. It's been a while since I watched it, but I watched about 4 seasons of Vikings, I think, before something else took over and I kind of dropped it from my list by accident more than anything. But I'm interested to see what is done with that. And then Valhalla Calling has been written by Miracle of Sound, real name Gavin Dunn, who writes, I think he writes music for video games, but also music inspired by video games. And this was inspired by the game Assassin's Creed Valhalla and its protagonist Eivor. I'm just fascinated to see what happens with that, because we have two pieces of music in a similar style, I would guess, but written centuries apart from each other. And that's a very cool thing. And I'm fascinated to see how this all plays out. It's seeing VoicePlay dressed up as Vikings is going to be very cool. I've seen screenshots in the VoicePlay Discord, but I haven't seen any footage or anything like that. No spoilers, as far as I can tell. And I'm really keen to see what happens. Viking, incidentally, not a people, which is a misconception I think that goes around a lot. It was actually a job. You became a Viking as a career, essentially. Or I don't think it was. I think it was like a seasonal thing that you would do. I'm not 100% sure. I just know that it's often referred to as being a word that describes a people, and it's actually a profession. And I think they were tradesmen. Somebody clarify this for me in the comments. I looked into it recently because somebody was talking about it on the Discord. And I remember briefly looking into it, and somebody gave an answer, and unfortunately it didn't quite stick as long as I'd hoped it would, because this reaction took me longer to get to. I made a mental note to remember it, and of course I haven't gone back and looked it up. But that doesn't impact my enjoyment of the music. So without further ado... Oh, and this involves... Do they both... no, they don't both. So the first one involves Jose Rosario Jr., who, of course, I know from Hoist the Colours. I feel there's an interesting stylistic similarity there between, pirate music and Viking music. It's all seaborne, but also I feel like maybe there are some similarities in tone and tenor. I'm not sure. And that has all the regular folks involved. The arrangement is by Lane. So is the video. Virtual production by Ellie. I assume that means we've got some green screening going on, things like that. Makeup Rick Underwood. Audio mix is Ed. Production manager Kathy, of course. Additional acting direction by Jose Rosario, which is interesting. Filmed at Patty Cake. And then the usual crowd. Featuring Jose Rosario Jr. hewing all the foemen. I like that. So that's a pretty standard lineup, but I did notice while I was looking, the Valhalla Calling credits are significantly larger. Arranged by Lane again, so there'll be some consistency there, but video, creative design, direction, Unreal Engine, virtual production, and editing by Ellie. It's a significantly larger list of technical programs and jobs there. Additional lyrics by Alfredo Austin, and then various people involved with a program called Vue, which is VU with not the umlaut but the straight line across the top of it. I'm not quite sure what that accent's called. But I looked into that, and that's a piece of virtual production software. So again, something that helps with all of this. And then the usual, Ed and Kathy. Rick Underwood and Renette Ferren did the makeup, so somebody else there. Matthew Hutchins on Steadicam. And even more Vue people. Wow, there's 6 different people here listed with Vue, including their office manager and general manager. So I'm wondering if this is a bit more of a collaboration. I don't know. We'll see. I'm interested. Ellie, Penguin Point Productions and Paddy Cake Productions did the costuming and props. Penguin Point's new to me. 3 production assistants, including Paul Kaleka, who's a name we recognize. Custom floor and prop design, Innovated Studios. There's a lot. This is going to be a significantly... I feel like this is going to be a higher production video, just because of the number of people. Prop Transport, Bennett Furniture Depot. This is most significant. So we shall see. I'm very, very interested to hear where this goes. And that, of course, written by Miracle of Sound, and he collaborated with Peyton Parrish, who's someone I'm hoping to get onto the channel soon, and it kind of went viral and crazy, and that's partly, I think, because I've heard Peyton's voice has been spoiled for me. I'll do songs I haven't heard before, of course, but he's come up on Instagram scrolling and things like that, so... but very interested to hear what goes on here. Anyway, that's enough rambling from me. That's probably my longest introduction to date. Let's dive into the videos. So first of all, we're going to look at my mother... before I begin, of course, welcome back to the channel. Welcome if this is your first time here. If it is, I'm going to watch... Normally, I would watch a video straight through without stopping it in any way, just emoting and commenting over the top, and then I go back and I watch it again, and this time I pause, I interrupt, and I go through it and all that kind of thing. This time, of course, I'm doing it slightly differently. I'm going to watch both videos straight through back to back, and then go back and do my analysis. So that's how this is going to work today. Please do like the video, subscribe if you enjoy my work. It is completely free to you. It costs you nothing but a button click, and it does wonders for my channel. You don't have to have any notifications at all if you don't want to, but being subscribed is all that you need to do to help the channel out a lot. But if you do want to know when my videos come out, hit notifications. You can personalize them or have everything that I do pop up on your screen. And if you care to, you can head to buymeacoffee.com/DavidKReacts. And I do have to say thanks very much indeed to Karina Rodebeck and Mickey Fullerton, both of whom contributed coffees to my channel recently. Thank you very much. I really appreciate the support. Okay, let's go. Without any further delay, this is My Mother Told Me, by cover by VoicePlay, featuring Jose Rosario Jr.
My mother told me someday I will buy galley with good oars, sail to distant shores.
Oh, I like this.
Stand up on the prow, noble bark I steer, steady course to the haven, hew many foemen,
Oh, yes, Jeff.
My mother told me someday I will buy galley with good oars.
Oh, that drone.
Sail to distant shores.
Ooh.
Stand up on the prow.
Cool harmony.
Noble bark I steer. Steady course to the haven. You many foemen, my mother
Oh, this is so cool.
Someday I will buy galley with good oars, sail to distant shores.
Whoa!
Stand up on
Oh,
the
that was cool.
prow. Noble bark I steer, steady course to the haven. You many foemen,
I love these unusual chord changes they're putting in. The makeup is so cool. Oh. Oh, they're so good at those bell chords. Yes, Ellie. Oh.
My mother told me someday I will buy galley with good oars, sail to distant
Oh, those close-ups, that's potent. Yes, Ellie. Oh, Jose is such a great addition to this. His tone just fits right in with this kind of harmony. Woohoo! I'm sorry, Lane, what was that? Oh. Oh, this is so fantastically good. Yes.
My mother told me someday I will buy galley with good oars.
Oh, I love that cover. They always have such good like album covers for their singles and stuff. Oh, that is fantastic. Whoa! Oh, I'm fired up now. Let's go to Valhalla Calling. Oh, one thing I didn't mention. This features J-Nun. Obviously, my mother told me happened when J-Nun was still part of the group, and so Jose was the guest. This time, obviously, I assume Caesar's going to be in this, and therefore J-Nun is the guest this time around. Guest, so much as he's, still largely a member of the group in some ways, it feels like. Anyway, here's Valhalla Calling, going straight through. Oh, cool. Oh, wow. What a start. Excuse me, Jeff? What is that? Summits to the verdant plains. Each horizon is a new beginning. Rise and reign. Far from the fjords and the ice-cold currents, ravens soar over the frontiers. Storms and sagas of a fate determined, shields and spears. Vows of favor or the thrill of plunder, hold together for the clan and kin. Clank of hammers and the crash of thunder, pound within. Oh. The echoes of eternity. Valhalla calling me. Yes. To pluck the strings of destiny. Valhalla calling me. Valhalla calling me. Oh, this is so good. I'm sorry, what?
Sails are swaying on the crimson river.
Is that some post-processing on the voices creating that sound? That's crazy. Or have they done that? Have they actually done that themselves? Oh! Wow, Ellie! Oh, I like that coming together. That's cool.
Valhalla calling me, to pluck the strings of destiny. Valhalla calling me, Valhalla calling me.
Wow. Wow.
Eternal, like I'll never die. Getting revenge, an eye for an eye. Ready for battle and ready to fight.
Oh,
ready
yes.
Ended with blood from the head of my ops. This how I go, it don't ever stop. This what I do, I'm up at the
Yes, Jay.
Raining down, when it come, they hit the ground. They all end up 6 feet under. Their souls end up in the clouds. Fight for the crew, cause we'll bleed and we'll brawl. Always protect to be free, never fall. Fight for the glory, the conquer, the creed, and we'll never forget Valhalla.
Oh, that's so cool.
Rose of eternity. Valhalla calling me. To pluck the strings of destiny. Valhalla calling me. Valhalla calling me.
Oh, this is so cool.
Valhalla calling me. Valhalla calling me. Valhalla calling.
Wow. It feels like they just kind of, like, seriously. Oh, I'll talk about this in a minute, but it's like they just took everything from the first one and opened it up. And modernized it. Oh. Another cool album cover. Love it. Oh. Wow. That's a treat, those two. My goodness. I am mind blown by how good that is. Oops. I always do that. That's incredible. It feels like they set the standard with My Mother Told Me for what they can do, and it's great. So how long ago was My Mother Told Me? That was, it was only 2 years ago. April 23rd, 2021. Valhalla Calling came out 20 days ago as I'm recording this. It feels like they've evolved since then. Like everything's a little higher, a little lower. There's more. There's the quality of the video, of course, is up. I love the fact, and I'd need to check everybody, but I can't see why they'd have changed this. That all the original 4 who were in both were wearing the same makeup, that and the tattoos and everything. Or maybe I don't know if it was quite the same makeup, but definitely the same tattoos. I don't know. Jeff's makeup looked a little darker to me. In Valhalla Calling, but I might just be seeing things, and it might be the lighting, and it's one thing in audio and video. You adjust one small thing, and everything around it takes on a slightly different tone. So you do have to be careful that you things look the same, sound the same. There's no complaint there whatsoever for this. That's more of a general comment, but it does mean that if you change the lighting, somebody's makeup can look completely different. Wow. I love that My Mother Told Me felt like almost like they were there at the time. And Valhalla Calling, with the contemporary sort of side to it, but also some of the lyrics and the presentation of the video, it's almost like it's taking place now, but also that they are heading to Valhalla now, rather than being alive. Maybe they've passed on in battle and they're heading on. I love that there's that kind of through line of the two videos. I don't know if that is literal or if it's just what I'm perceiving, but it's a very, very cool addition. I really, really like that. Those are both so good. Yeah, very, very impressed. Okay, let's go back and analyze. I just need a momentary break just to grab a glass of water. And I'm back. One day I will remember to bring that glass with me when I come down in the first place to do these videos. Okay, back to My Mother Told Me. Let's go through this and see what's what.
My mother told me someday I will buy galley with good oars, sail to distant shores, stand up on the prow.
Okay, first thing I'm going to do is get my piano app up, because I know I'm going to want to make some piano references in this. I really, really like that we start with the 5 of them individually. It's a nice touch. It also shows us their backgrounds. Background's one of those things that can be a little bit tricky when you're doing videos with a lot of visual interest, because if you get too far into it and then introduce a new background, we get jarred away from it looking at what the new pretty is that's behind everybody. The fact that they've given us a moment to see them full screen, especially given that we're going to see a lot of it cut into chunks, it's kind of cool to have that done straight off the bat. Also, introducing the 5 voices straight off the bat is also great. I would imagine, I know with Valhalla Calling, and I would imagine probably with My Mother Told Me as well, these attracted a wider audience than just VoicePlay fans, and so it's a smart way to introduce everybody at the beginning so that folks know who's singing what. This is a really cool intro.
My mother told me someday I will buy galley with good oars, sail to distant shores, stand up on the prow.
Also, lovely that the first thing we hear from Lane is singing. That's really cool, because of course we know his beatboxing is killer, but that's a lovely line for him to have, just to have a second to stand out there. That's great. I love that Jeff's first line is stand up on the prow. Kind of gives us the sense that he's, guiding the ship in a way. There's something about it that's just kind of gives me that mental image, which is also cool because as the bass, he is holding the group together. That's kind of what basses do in all of music, be it an instrument or a voice. And so it's just a nice touch for him to have. Now, one thing I do know, Valhalla Calling, I know the symbol that's gone around, especially on all the merch, is actually tattooed onto 2 of them here. One more time through this intro. I just want to look at this makeup because it's all just so cool. I love we've got these streaks down the eyes. It's a very kind of sharp image, draws you into the face a bit. And this rune I'm talking about is tattooed onto his chest there.
Someday I will.
This is kind of cool because I love, obviously Ellie's bald. It makes sense to have a design on his head, and I love that we have this coming across on both sides, these kind of sharp, angular images. The dusky makeup that he's got on there is really, really effective. Kind of gives him this sort of haggard, drawn-out expression, and then this cool piece on his chest that we just never quite see.
Bye.
There we go again. This is the second example. On Janon's head, we've got that same rune, and then this cool white highlight for him. And these streaks, I love that it's kind of like along the cheek and then comes down the lines beside the mouth. That's a really nice touch. This is not my usual fare, but I just think the makeup design in this is so interesting. I also love the clothing. I didn't talk about that at all, but I love that we have, Jose here almost looking... First glance, I'm going to be honest, I know what we're looking at here, but my first thought was that he could so easily play Stilgar in Dune. It just ran into my head the moment I saw him. I don't know if that's because he's kind of got a bit of a look, just a touch of, I can't remember the actor's name who played him in the Lynch movie. But there's just a hint of it there, and I was just like, oh, hang on. Just caught me off guard. But I love this cloak he's got. That's really cool. Ellie going for the slightly more fur. I kind of get more of a sage feel from him. I I don't know why. There's just something about him that seems like someone who would be, important in the village.
Someday I will buy.
Here's your traveller. Janon really looks like a traveller here, with like the thick cloak and the breastplate that he's got on, and the wrist guards. Very, very cool. I love that he's set against this blue. It's just such a beautiful tone. And the icy mountains in the background. Obviously, this is all the digital work that was referenced in the credits.
Galley with good oars. Sail.
Lane's makeup, I would put this on me in a heartbeat for to record a video of something. These cool, like, C-shaped tattoos he's got surrounding his eyes and going up into the temple. That's really cool design. And it's kind of got something similar to Ellie's in those the curves with angular edges and things like that. And I love this cloak, coat that he's got on with sort of the one decorated sleeve, and the kind of rings. Not particularly effective armor, those rings. I mean, it'll make something bounce off a little bit, but it's a cool design, if nothing else.
To distant shores.
And then Jeff here, looking like a blacksmith almost, with this huge sleeve of plate and the big fur, but then the exposed arm. I love that. Looks like someone who's going to go into battle with one arm forward, leaving the other one free to manipulate. And then he's got this cool, almost dragon-like tattoo on. The designs in this are fantastic. I don't know why I feel like I'm doing that thing where I just describe what I'm seeing on screen. You're all looking at it as well, but the details that are in this are just astonishing. I love that his armor's kind of a little bit ripped and torn, like it's seen something. And whether that's just use or whether it's combat, I don't know, but it's really cool that he's got that touch. Anyway, all these visuals from me right off the bat, but those differences and the fact that they're consistent through is marvelous to me. It's a great choice. I mean, obviously, Jose and Caesar, I think, are different. But just a brilliant, brilliant through line there.
And upon the prow, noble bark I steer.
Steady course to the haven. Humidity foreman.
There's a really nice musical choice there where Jeff is singing, you get this lovely harmony underneath, and then when Jose comes in, he has the same harmony for his first line, and then Jeff drops down at the end. So there's a consistency there that gives us some range in the music, because we hear the difference between everybody being around here and then someone all the way down there, and then everybody being here, because that's roughly where Jose is singing as well, and it compresses the sound a bit before Jeff drops down, and it keeps this interest level high. This is brilliant. This 5, I've seen it in Nothing Else Matters. I've seen this screenshot before, but I love this 5-panel screen that we get where we can see all of them. They're all involved in the music all the time. And I'm going to crack out another of my nerddoms right now. And does anybody else get the feeling that they're each a Magic the Gathering commander? I'm sorry. I know that is so off-piste, but the Jeff is like the backgrounds. Jeff is black, Lane is white, Ellie's green, Janon's blue, and Jose is red. And I just saw that, and it's the first thing my mind went to, because that's who I am. I am a nerd and a gamer. I don't really play Magic the Gathering, but that color scheme is wedged into my brain from having played it a lot when I was younger. That is, I don't know. Maybe that's just me. I also love that we have this so much intensity from everybody here. Even Lane, whose wide-eyedness can be used so effectively for comedy. Thinking about the Chef Louis in The Little Mermaid. He used that wide-eyed to make us laugh. Now he's using it to create this intense... You feel like you're staring down the barrel of a gun if you look at him. I love what they've done here. The characterization being so serious. They're really not... They're taking this exactly as it should be. And it's just marvelous. Yeah, love it.
Many foremen.
That blackout. Okay, I'm going to look at notes because Valhalla Calling, I think, is significantly more impressive than this even. Oops, right. So we have an F1 here, which is a comfortable area for Jeff. E's, F's, and G's seem to be excellent targets for his subharmonics. But I love that we get this blackout. We have this lovely... Jeff isn't particularly low. Everybody else is quite neatly tied together in a fairly close harmony for them. You know, Ellie could be way up, and there could be a much more of breadth in this sound, but it's all fairly tight together. Then we get this blackout, and then Jeff just comes in. You know, he's on an F2 here. He comes in on the F1, and even though it's only an octave, that difference is astonishing. And the slow look up. That's just the movement is so menacing. That's really, really good. My mother told me. Lovely use here of open fifths, I think. I'm just here about. My mother told me. Yeah, I think that's an open fifth, which is you've only got the tonic and the fifth, so da 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 da. You don't have the da. The minor third isn't there except in the melody. My mother told me. It's there, but the harmony underneath it is open, and it gives it's such a great sound for a drone. A drone, if you don't know what a drone is, other than a flying thing. A drone is when you have a single note that is held on extended underneath other stuff. So Jeff's note alone is a drone, but then having this lovely sort of open harmony that we have there kind of contributes to that. Another example of a drone is the sound bagpipes make when they're not playing a note, just to give you something else to sort of think about. But it's just so effective here. Someday I will buy Cali with good oars. These little interjections add so much. Galley with good oars, good oars. It also adds a touch to the harmony because they are still open. Galley with good oars, good oars. It gives a little something extra in there, so it's not just a drone straight through. The harmony has interest as well. It's a really, really good choice. Galley with good oars, sail to distant shores. I love the tone that Jose's got here. There's a sharpness to it. Sail to different shores. It's very focused. And he's being very precise in his enunciation. And it lets this kind of piercing. You've got this kind of the dum. You've got this very kind of languid beat going underneath, but at the same time it's keeping this push forward. It's not crazy busy, but it is keeping things moving. It's not a march. It's kind of got a drone quality to it itself in some ways, but he's keeping it pushing forward by keeping this such a kind of precise sound in his vocal. I love it. Oh, I didn't hear that note up the top. Ooh, someone's up there. Oh, the range of harmony in this is fantastic. It's giving us a lot of variety in what we're hearing. Some of it subtle notes, some of it, as we'll hear later, a little bit more obvious. Really, really good. Nope. Sail to distant shores. Stand up on the prow. Now notice here again, right before we change the register and have a bunch of people jumping up, we have a moment where everyone is together. I don't think Jeff was even singing at the end of that. And he comes in high. That scoop up is great. But I love that he disappears at the end and doesn't come in straight away at the beginning. So he allows the group to re-register, for want of a better phrase. That's not really a word, but they shift to a different area in their voices, and then he comes into support. So we get that moment of just identifying what the group's doing. That's great. Stand up on the prow, noble bark I steer, steady course to the haven, you many. Oh, And they're using Jeff so effectively because he was just not there for a couple of lines, and that's great. And then he comes in right back down again, and the potency that he's getting out of this, like he's making the bass an embellishment, a point of interest, an emphasis, instead of just being a support. And he's always there to support them. The sound can come in at any moment, but it's not there the whole time, and it makes it much more fascinating than if this was just a drone the whole way through, which, while it would be stunningly impressive, wouldn't have a lot of interest to it.
Course to the haven, you many foemen, you many foemen.
And I love that it comes back in while they're talking about hewing. You know, let's get to, as soon as it gets to the violence, that dark menace enters right down at the bottom. It's so effective. Interesting that I like that we have Jose and Lane kind of looking at each other while they're doing these, you know, Jose's looking off screen left, Lane's looking off screen right, while they're having these little interjections. And it's kind of cool that you, even though they're not on screen at the same time, you feel like you're getting a little bit of this interaction. Here's a question. Was this filmed remotely? Was this before they were allowed to get together and film in person? It feels like it might be, just because of all the virtual work and the fact that we're not seeing them on screen together at any point. But those who know more, let me know.
Many foemen, you many foemen. My
Oh, Janan too, also facing. I like that. Just it gives us a sense of interaction that would otherwise, you know, if this was all we saw, if we saw straight on the whole time, it would be great, don't get me wrong, and these guys could carry it off, but it wouldn't have it's a little more interesting for having them seemingly, you know, reacting to each other and gearing each other up.
many foemen. My mother told me someday I will buy.
Now it's interesting, the upper part of this sounds like it's kind of doing much the same thing, but listen to Jeff's line here. He's taking us somewhere different.
You many foemen. My mother told me someday I will buy.
Someday I will. That just throwing in those notes underneath change the feeling of the chords above them a little bit. And this is our first hint that we're also doing a slightly more modern arrangement of this. And I love it, because we're about to go somewhere even crazier in a minute. I can't remember quite when. I think it's probably this verse. But it doesn't happen very... I mean, it was sudden in the sense that it takes you off guard how far they go. But there are hints coming early that something's going to change. And I love that. They're really good at dropping those in.
By galley with good oars, sail to distant shore.
There it is. Like, this is totally out of nowhere in some ways. I want to look at this a bit more. Galley with good oars even sounds like it's not going to go anywhere strange, and then all of a sudden we go somewhere totally different.
With good oars, sail to distant shores.
Like, that's fascinating. Listen to... Even Jeff's line gives us a hint of where we're going.
Sail to distant shores.
Sail to...
Galley with good oars, sail to distant shores.
Sail to distant shores is what he's singing. And he clues us in immediately that we're going somewhere different. But it sounds like we're not. Oh, sorry. Let's just get rid of those notifications once again. I forgot to turn them off before I started. There we go.
Galley with good oars.
Galley with good, galley with good oars. Sail. So far, so similar. Sail to distant shores would be it.
To distant shore.
But their chord above, he's done the sail to distant. That's the same note for him. They've changed the chord above, and then we go to shores, and we're somewhere completely different. And it's just a fascinating movement, because your brain expects what it's heard before. And this is simple enough as a construction that you, even if you're not that familiar with music, your brain will be expecting it to come back, because it understands what's just happened, and then it hears something different. This kind of twist is so good in music.
With good oars, sail to distant shores. Stand up on the prow, noble port I steer.
And now, only on steer are we back to where we expected to go. The rest of that was all a little bit different. It's just, this is brilliant arranging. Lane, fantastic job. Fantastic.
On the prow.
Like, we're somewhere... I'm not going to take too long, because this is a double video and I don't want it to be too long. I'm not going to go note by note on everything, but just the fact that we're somewhere so different for the ending of a line is also significant, because that signifies the next line is going to start differently. So we're now getting even more awareness that things are different. I'm going to try and use another word than different.
Noble bark I steer, steady course to the haven. Hew many foemen,
Even there, many foemen. Like there, it's not the notes that you would necessarily expect coming into this. I should add, by the way, at this point, I can't remember how much of this is different from the iteration that is heard in Vikings. I did not listen to that before I watched this. I wanted to come into this completely fresh on it. So if some of these things are in Vikings and I'm, misspeaking on where VoicePlay's changed some stuff, so be it. Let me know. I am just responding to what I'm hearing. That's interesting too, because that's the first time he may have done it previously, but that's the first time I really took notice of us seeing Lane beatbox on screen. He's been singing a lot of the time, and so I'm assuming he's doubled here. I'm assuming throughout this song he's singing a vocal line and beatboxing at the same time. But it's interesting that we got there. That's the first time I really noticed a very sudden, obvious, okay, Lane's beatboxing right now as we go into this next section. That's such a cool section. I love that we just get this very flowing sound. Lane's got this open, quite impactful percussion sound that he's producing, and we're just traveling through chords and sounds and vocal qualities, and it gives us this real point of breaking up what's going on here. It's a real point of interest in the piece, and I think it's extremely effective at keeping interest, at pushing things forward, because hearing something different is always a refresh and reinvigorates the song. But it's also just a great moment to hear something different in this style, and I think that's great. They've shown off a lot of stylistic variety in both of these songs, and this is a great example of that for me.
Many foemen, many foemen.
Interesting, they're putting some focus on the rhythm as well in the cuts, if you notice. See what's on the beat and what isn't. On the beat. And there, Lane comes in, you get one. I'll count it. 1, 2, 3, and. It's like, it's sort of like a swung up beat almost. You get Lane come in, and then Ellie comes in early as well. And it's so effective, because it could be very easily just to do switch, 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 but they choose to go with what the music is telling them to do, and it's always effective. Love it. I also love that we can play a little bit with how many people we have on screen. Like, just for that moment there, we had these three. And it's just, you switch up the order a little bit, you switch up the vibe a little bit. It, focuses us on different people singing, different style. Like here, we're listening to the harmony, whereas where you hear the do-do-do-do from Ellie, you're clearly focusing on what he's singing. It pulls the ear to different things just as much as it pulls the eye to different things. And I really like that they've done that with this, especially because they're not all together, and so you can't do like a sweeping camera to focus on this person. It is very selective editing, and they've done it really, really well. Lovely things there. I love this introduction of Ellie up top. He's sounds so good up there. And then She Told Me underneath, very much now call and response, the way that they're singing it. And then you get this beautiful bell chord here. VoicePlay, so good at doing them, but also Lane and Jeff very good at selecting when to put them in. It's really effective here. We're over halfway through the song now. We can introduce something like this and it doesn't feel out of place, even though, I'm sure this is not something that would have been sounded back in the day. Tell me if I'm wrong. But it feels like, that's a very contemporary device and it works brilliantly. And it's just, at this point, it doesn't matter because we've had the contemporary beatboxing. We've had the contemporary chord changes. We can bring in contemporary techniques as well. And it's a part of what this song does now. And it's not unexpected, but it's very cool.
She told me someday I will buy galley with good eyes, sail to distant shores.
Oh, that line there with, I'm assuming that's Janan and Jose, underneath.
Sail to distant shores.
Is that sail to distant shores? I think. That's so effective. Just this kind of rhythmic pulsing in the background, kind of almost very slightly reminiscent of Morse code, which of course is nautically appropriate, if not stylistically to Vikings. But it's a very cool rhythmic beat in the middle of this, while Ellie and Lane and Jeff are continuing the consistency of the sound that's going on around it.
Sail to distant shores. Stand up on the prow.
Oh, another lovely construction. It's almost a canon. It's not quite. Canon, for those who don't know, is where you set groups of singers off, and one starts a bar later, and one starts a bar later, and one starts a bar later, and so you have that thing where one group finishes first, and they can start again if they want to. This isn't quite what's happening here, but it's got that vibe, this offset entry that they're all having on Stand Up on the Prow.
Sail to distant shores.
And even the stand up, the entries they have are on such interesting notes too, and they're creating this chord but with motion this time. I love it. Oh, everything is so cool. Jeff's bass line there, Lane's entry. Oh my goodness. Listen to Jeff's line here is fantastic though. Oh, the tones on the ha that you've got underneath there really add to what's going on here, and they're complementing what Lane is doing as well, so it's blending in with the arrangement, not standing out, which is also a choice. Like Hoist the Colours, for example, which I mentioned, because obviously we had Jose for that, but also it is a good comparison. The ha that we had in those, they were meant to be individual. This feels like it's a part of a whole much more.
Someday I will buy galley with...
Oh, and this is such a nice choice as well. Just having the humming under Jeff singing a solo. It's a beautiful effect. I say under Jeff's, I guess above Jeff singing a solo. There's something so cool, and these bass a cappella singers seem to be able to pull it off so well, of having a bass singer solo and yet still making the song sound like there's a foundation to it. And it might just be because we have 4 people here providing a great chord over the top, or it might just be the talent of these bass singers and their ability to make their voice grounding no matter whether they're singing a melody or an accompaniment. But it's so effective.
Someday I will buy galley with good oars.
Nice too, because the almost is not obtrusive, but the that they use to onset to it really draws attention to their entry. It's not like, he's singing Sail to Distant Shore, and they're just like they're not just drifting into the arrangement. It's a very definite You can't miss them come in, and yet they instantly pull back to something that's set behind Jeff. It's a really nice, cool moment there.
Galley on me, someday I will buy. Galley with...
Notice they're all doing the same movement Jeff did earlier, where it's like face down and then gradually that lift. As Jeff entered the first time, they are now replicating that. It's so good.
Someday I will buy. Galley with good oars, sail to distant shore.
Woohoo! Yes. Oh, that effect there of keeping that going, and then, I don't know, is that Lane maybe providing that over the top of it? I don't know what he's doing, if it's even him. But those two sounds together just as a simple effect, continuing that drone idea once more, leading into this section. So powerful.
Stand up on the prowl, no more black guys steer. Steady course to the haven. Many foemen.
Oh, that's so cool. There's so many good things in there. The key change is great. That is a key change, right? At this point, I'm so swimming in what's going on.
Stand up
Yeah.
on the prowl, no more black guys steer.
And it's so great because you have this wonderful, energetic percussion now from Lane pushing us forward even further. And now we've kind of gone, as I think, as contemporary as this song goes, because we're coming up to the end. And I love that we've had that progression, almost pulling the song through the ages into contemporary sound. It's so good.
Steady course to the haven. Many foemen.
This these backbeat responses from the chorus here are so effective. And now we're going to get, I love what we're going to get here, this punch cut coming into Jeff as he sings each of the notes going down this broken arpeggio. Oh, not broken, sorry, it's an actual arpeggio. But there, that pushing closer in on him is so effective. Oh, interesting. I couldn't see Ellie's tongue there, but I don't think that we actually see him singing do 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 do, and that sort of slightly eerie drifting quality it has on the sound production makes me think that's like a hark back to what he sang before. That's a really nice touch. Oh, love it. Again, that lovely moment where we have that push, that little crescendo into a sudden stop. You get the black for just a split second, and then we come back in on the group. So effective. The editing in this video is stunning. You know what? He didn't move his mouth much there either. Maybe he did sing it that time. It just looked like he wasn't for a second. That may have just been me seeing something. But anyway. And I love this. They prepare to set out and turn and head away. This is such a lovely ending. Wonderful stuff. And again, because I love commenting on this, they let the sound drift away before anything else happens. Sure, we get these pop-ups, but the sound just fades away before they come in with the little extra that they throw in over their credits. That is marvelous. Well played, VoicePlay. That is an astonishing arrangement, and Jose was the perfect guest for that. His tone throughout that song just blended so beautifully into that style of singing. And open chords and things like that. Obviously, once it came into the more contemporary thing, we've got a very different chordal structure, but those open chords at the beginning have to sound good to work. That's a very vulnerable sound in some ways, especially produced vocally, because the tuning is so critical. The timbre needs to be there to support it, and his voice in this was just beautiful. Moving on, my goodness, I love that. That was just so good. And now we get this wonder. I don't even know which of these I prefer. I'm going to have to listen to them a bunch to make that decision, but let's bring us back up and let's go straight into Valhalla Calling and see what they do. So obviously straight away, we've got a very different style of video here because we do have some 3D rendering in here. That Unreal Engine that was mentioned, I'm assuming, is what was used to generate the scenes of the ships. This is really cool. So yeah, let's see the conclusion to this story. That's such a potent start too. Just this stomping sound, the kind of the patting there, and then all in unison with the oh. It's not one person starting to sing this time. It's everybody, but they're singing one line. That's really nice. And Jeff, it looks like he's singing in the video there, so I assume he's singing in the mix. That's quite high for him too. That's cool that he started up in that. So rather than beginning with a compressed harmony when Jeff comes in as the singer in the first one, now we're starting with a very compressed line in the sense that it's all compressed onto the same note. And then we get the drop. But otherwise it's the same, I think. I also love that they're almost like calling out to Jay here, where he is not there and he's coming to join them. And I like that choice to start him in a separate place. It gives a really cool narrative to this story. Yeah, so keep stopping on the same place. Caesar's makeup definitely different. Everybody else's makeup definitely the same. A few subtle differences. Ellie's looks a little darker here than it was, and maybe Jeff's is as well. But again, maybe that's a trick of the light because they were very brightly lit in My Mother Told Me. And I imagine part of that was trying to create similar lighting on all of them so that it would blend together well when put together into one video. Whereas here, they're obviously all in one place. And that's nice. So now we add the harmony in. Oh, I think. Just that little touch of harmony in there. And the third time through. So we hear it all in unison, exactly the same, but with someone an octave down. And then we add that tiny little harmony just above. And it's slowly stretching this sound out. Now, let's just start. Yeah, so this, I think, is Unreal that we're looking at here. That's an F sharp 1. Did Jeff sing a B0 in this? Ho! I knew this was a thing. I'm actually kind of really glad it happened in this, because I knew it was coming when I get to Halo. I didn't know he did it in this. Oh, wow! That... Let's just... Yep. That's a B0. I said Jeff couldn't surprise me anymore, and even though I knew this was coming, he just did. To give you an idea, I don't know if I could find a good picture quickly enough to make this a thing. I don't want to waste too much time on this, but oh my goodness. If I can force my camera to focus on it. It's not going to, is it? Yeah, there we go. This is a full piano keyboard. Right down here, you see we've got white note, black note, white note, white note. Jeff is singing that second white note up from the bottom. That's a full-size piano. There are only 2 notes lower on the piano, and then he falls off the end. You guys probably all know this. Sorry, you folks, I'm trying to get better at that. Probably all know this because you've seen this or whatever. If you haven't seen this man sing before... What?! I've heard C# ones from him. I think I may have even heard a C one. A B0. I swear to God, this is not me overreacting for the camera. My mind is melting at what I just heard. This free frame reminds me of something I wanted to bring up. Do I still have it open is the question. I might not do. I actually looked. I meant to bring this up when I was talking about it earlier. I found, before looking, because I'd seen the merch for Valhalla Calling floating around, I had actually found a website that spoke... Yeah, here we go. Just going to bring this out as a separate window because then I can do this. I'll link to this below, but this website actually shows this rune here. And says it's called Tonlist. Not sure how to pronounce that. But it means music. And this is just a little piece of information about the rune. This website is by no means... It's a store. I am not affiliated. I just found the information about it here. And this, I think, is the component runes that make it up. A bind rune is... a Norse rune that is made up of lots of different runes combined together to form something more complicated. And that's what we're looking at here. So I'll link to that down below if you would like to have a look. I am not affiliated with the store. I am not in any way promoting them. It's just the information is there, and I wanted to share it with you. Okay, back in. This choice right here, Valhalla Calling, the whole group together in the hall, and then just me coming from Jay on his own outside. I love that he's feeling that call. It's so good. And then...
Ships on vigor of the waves are skimming, bearing summits to the verdant plains. Each horizon is a new beginning, rising.
Okay, I talked about drone in the last one. This is a drone. And I love that you can barely even hear it because it's so subtle, but he comes up to the F sharp in the middle of that and drops right back down to that B again. That's so good. I love these lyrics. Kudos to Miracle of Sound for some awesome lyrics. I don't know if he's the lyric writer. I say kudos to him. I got the impression he does all his own work, but my goodness, these lyrics are fantastic. Ships on the vigor of the waves are skimming. It's so evocative. That's beautiful.
Ships on vigor of the waves are skimming, bearing.
This is great. Sorry.
Ships on vigor of the waves are skimming.
This green screening, because I am assuming, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm assuming Jay is actually here filming on a green screen, and this is the Unreal footage from earlier with the rendered ships and the water that he's being projected onto, and it's so effective. When you have that top-down view, if you pay attention to the ships, you can see that they look modelled, like 3D modelled. These here, with this haze and the obfuscation and the slight blurriness to make it look distant, this looks very credible. That's also really nice. Jay and Caesar harmonizing together, their voices sound so good.
Figure of the waves are skimming, bearing summits to the verdant plains. Each horizon is a new beginning, rise and rain.
And we've kind of almost, Ellie didn't get his moment there, but we've almost done the same thing. We have now introduced each of the singers doing their thing. That's really, really nice.
Far from the fjords and the ice-cold currents, ravens
Of course.
soar over new frontiers. Songs and
And this is interesting. This is an evolution of the sound because now we've got a much higher... We don't have harmony supporting Jeff here, so he does sound a little bit more exposed. And it works because where they've placed him in the mix, he sounds so far forward in the mix, it's like he's whispering in your ear, and it being on its own doesn't matter so much. I don't think I'd have liked it as much in the previous song. But in this, it's really effective. Also, I love Lane's line here. Just his... I'm learning more and more about his capability as a singer, and I'm very impressed. He also sounds really good in that mix. He's obviously still out there on the top, even as we're seeing Ellie and Jay and what have you. But he sounds really, really good leading that for a second.
Far from the fjords and the ice-cold currents, ravens soar over new frontiers, storms and sagas of a fate determined, shields and spears.
That's that F-sharp 1, isn't it? That is such a comfortable point for Jeff and his... just checking that we're still where I think we are. Yeah, that's the F-sharp 1. That's such a comfortable point for his subharmonics. They're so powerful right there. They really come out strongly. It's great.
Determined, shields and spears.
Vows of favor or the thrill of plunder, hold together for the clan and kin. Clank of hammers and the crash of thunder.
Oh, this is really cool. I like this. Going back for a second. Not just to hear that note again.
Vows of favor or the thrill of plunder.
This is great because we have this wide harmony here. The plows of favor and the thrill of plunder going right up over the top there. This is quite a broad harmony, and then immediately on the next line we cut back to this ba 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 sound from everybody.
Hold together for the clan and kin.
Oh, sorry, no, that's not true. We have the vocalization. Now we get it.
Clank of hammers and the crash of thunder, pound within.
They're playing so much with texture right now. Because having 4 people singing all together, da, 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 but different notes and all over the place gives you this really wide sound, and then you have that kind of almost devoid of harmony for a second.
Ravens soar over
Vows of favor or the thrill
Really
of
broad.
thunder, hold together for the clan and kin.
Very narrow with just this ooh, huh. Very narrow sound there. And now we go to a fragmented sound, which in some ways is even narrower.
Clank of hammers and the crash
Even though it sounds like there's a slightly fuller harmony there, the fact that it comes and goes so quickly really breaks it up more.
of thunder, pound within.
And then you have this lovely pound within. That crescendo coming back in again leads us back into a different texture yet again. They play so... VoicePlay. I keep mentioning this now. They live up to their names. VoicePlay, Theatre Kids of Acapella. You know, they do these things so very well.
Hammers and the crash of thunder, pound within. The echoes of eternity.
And these are interesting because I love that we have the echoes of eternity just from Jay, but also these, oh, there's someone just singing, oh, there's a higher drone essentially through that section. Drone more traditionally I think referred to bass notes, but I love the fact that we have that note being held through here, fleshing out that sound. It's now a step more evolved than it was previously. Evolution being a watchword for VoicePlay, as far as I can tell. They just seem to be so good at doing it all the time.
The echoes of eternity. Valhalla calling me.
I love too how much of themselves that, you know, Ellie, like, really, they're really giving it all, even in these simple moments where they're just singing oh. But oh means something because they're pushing themselves into it. It's great.
Valhalla calling me. To pluck the strings of destiny.
This is so cool too. I'm going to go back to Hoist the Colours again. Caesar in Hoist the Colours was really menacing, and he's picking that back up again here. I feel like it's so easy for him to kind of be the clown and the comedy character, because he's brilliant at doing that. And even his menacing moment in Wicked, where he did the "Kill the Witch," was immediately turned into a moment of comedy. He's keeping this menace so very well here. You know, you wouldn't want to cross any of these folks on a bad day in a back alley, as the expression goes. Any one of the 5 of them, they look like they mean business the whole way through this, and it's so effective.
To pluck the strings of destiny.
I love this. These breath sounds.
The strings of destiny.
It's visceral. Like that's the word I've been looking for all this time. There's a visceralness to what they're doing here. They're keeping it so kind of like on edge all the time. And that's a really good way. It's so subtle. It took me a minute to realize what I was hearing, and it's really just, razor sharp precision on the sounds that they're choosing to use here.
Valhalla calling me.
Valhalla calling me.
Oh, and that punch of the camera there, so effective. Technique they've used before, they use it well. They use it sparingly. It's very, very effective for moments like these.
Valhalla calling me.
So this is what you can tell this is modeled. This very much looks like 3D modeling here. It's beautiful, don't get me wrong, but you can see it. But it's perfect for this video. It just really works well as atmosphere. I really like that. And this sound, I'm interested to know how they produced this. Is there something they're doing to their voices, or has it been post-processed a little bit to give it this kind of modernized synthy sound to their thing? There isn't a synth in this, is there? Have I just missed the fact that there's actually a secret instrument hidden away? I don't think so. No. It would be very unexpected for it to happen. I'm fascinated to know how they created that. Anybody knows, please tell me, because wow, that's a cool sound. And they've kept that lovely moment where you have a second of black before they come back in. I love the touches that they've retained from video to video. It really helps the through line of the narrative of the 2 stories stick together. That's a really great move right there. And it allows us to... We expect a change in the quality of the sound we're going to listen to, because we expect it's either going to come in even more intense or a little less intense. And in this case, it's less so, and it's so effective.
Swaying on the crimson river, blood and glory in the fighting field.
Shields are shattered into splintered timbers, iron and steel.
Oh, this build going up through the group. We start way down with just this dum, dum, and then you even just this introduction here. It's slightly higher. Then we pull up into J. Then add Caesar. Now go up to Ellie. Oh, that climb is so brilliant. And it's just used by changing the sound that's produced, the person that's singing it, then harmonizing with it, and then we just launch up into Ellie at full blast. That is genius. That is so potent too, because that is the ultimate goal of a Viking warrior, is to die a glorious death and be escorted by the Valkyries into the halls of Odin, and to get to Valhalla, and to have that cry belted out by Ellie in full rock mode. It's just, oh, this is so good. I love that. It's cool. I see what I know why they didn't do the doors opening. I do love that we go from just like we see him walk in essentially, and then cut to the silhouette of him there, and then he walks in to join the group, and we have this momentary blackout to allow these transitions to happen.
The echoes of eternity. Valhalla calling me.
Woo! I love that they do this kind of thing so well. These group runs going up, just magnificent.
To pluck
or down in Jeff's case. But it's not like that. Can't be an easy thing to achieve. Yeah, Caesar. Oh, that's so... That's maybe the one thing I feel like it's the difference between Valhalla Calling. It's almost a... I don't like criticizing, but like 0.5% too strong, the difference between the two. I would have almost liked it slightly more if Ellie's voice had risen in tension. Not physical tension of hurting your voice, but like Valhalla Calling me a little bit more, just to give it a bit more. I like the surprise. The surprise is cool. I feel like there could have been a slight lead to it that wouldn't have given it away, but might have just gelled it into the song slightly better. Oh, it's cool though. And I love that we now have them all outside, looking out over the ocean, seeing the ships come in. And that transition. That kind of like drawn in effect you've got around the outside of them. And I guess that's just where they've cut the green screen. But it's... Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, this is actually... And I love that we get it over this sort of fierce, superior look from Lane. But this is actually a really cool effect, as the one is almost drawn in as the other one is drawn out. That's... I actually really like that. Oh, I love... And that too, that's so cool. Right at the end there, Caesar just flicks his hood up. This is so cool. This, I feel like, if you brought traditional, Viking Norse singers and brought them up to modern day, this is probably what you'd get. And I love, it's kind of the continuation of what was happening throughout My Mother Told Me. We almost stepped back a little bit into a more traditional style, and now we're pulling it even further into a contemporary style. And Jay's rapping is stunning. This is really, really good. And I want to listen more to the accompaniment underneath it, because I was kind of focusing on him. Oh, it's so good. That little ooh, and then just slowly coming out. You've got the drum beats. This is so effective. And then I don't think, was Jeff even singing there? I couldn't quite tell. Maybe he's up higher, but then you get that and he lands right down at the bottom, coming back in at this next line. This is so good. I love that as everybody comes, as that harmony fleshes out a little bit, you get that pullback in the tempo of the rapping. So da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, wrath of hell raining down. All of a sudden, it's gone to a slightly slower pace in the spoken word of the rap, and you're hearing the harmony a little bit more than I almost previously done. It's just... Oh, this arrangement is so good. Again, well done, Lane. Oh, that's so good. We'll never forget Valhalla, full force, and then just... Oh. It's almost like we've got to the point now. So the call doesn't have to be as strong, because we're going. Oh!
Valhalla
Such a nice choice too, to have Caesar on his own and then have Jeff supported by the harmony. That little call, it's no longer like a clarion call, it's more like a remembrance almost, or sort of a call off in the distance, because the actual call itself has been heeded. Oh, that transition! This has been so well edited again. Firstly, I love that we come back in with the more powerful, but it's not the call now, it's the group singing. They are the call. Maybe they're the call for the warriors behind them. I don't know, but but this transition, as we go past, I think it's Jay, right? And as we go past him, we switch. Well done. I love this use of telephone EQ right here as well, which is where you kind of cut the top and bottom end off and make it a little bit more muffled and things like that. That's so effective for this response to Valhalla calling me, Valhalla calling me. You can't obviously reproduce it in person because you can't cut your top and bottom end off. Well, maybe they can. But I love that as just an addition to this. It's just another little contemporary technique they slip in, and they use it so very effectively. Valhalla calling me, Valhalla calling me. And yet lane is clear. Valhalla calling me, Valhalla calling me. Oh! And then he breaks, but no, he comes in clear and breaks into that same kind of EQ, and then we get this electronic transition back into A, outside, and B, a more contemporary sound. This is great. I'm not sure what they're doing there, but that's just really cool. I like it. It kind of gives you can imagine this being synthed out in some really cool kind of club environment. This is... I love what they've done so much. That's nice. Those two calls from Caesar and Jay. Like the Valhalla calling me, Valhalla from Jeff, but you've got this going on. Like the number of timbres and qualities of sound that they're mixing simultaneously here to create this really cool ending is astonishing. I love it. Also, I realised I didn't really talk about Caesar's makeup, but I love that we have this one... I assume it's a rune of some sort. I'm not familiar with that particular one, but then this runic writing on the side of his face. I recognise some of these runes. That is Norse writing. I don't know what it says. I used to be able to read a few runes. It wasn't something I kept up, so I can't do it anymore, but I recognise them. Maybe something I'll look into before I post this video, and in which case I'll make a comment on it somewhere during the video, and maybe something I'll leave you folks to tell me in the comments, because I'm sure somebody's figured it out. But yeah, so good. Oh, that final thing too. Love that you have Ellie there. Then you add in this harmony. And Jeff is singing... calling. I assume something to that effect. But he is singing at the beginning because you can see his mouth shape change as he drops, rather than coming in. But I love that it's like with da da dum, like they fall into the bass note. What is that up there? It's the F sharp again? Where's my piano gone? Why am I not hearing my piano? Yeah, there's an F sharp 5, I think, being held up there. Yeah, someone's holding an F sharp 5. Wow, I'm assuming that's Ellie? So we've had a B0 to an F sharp 5. So we got 4.5 octaves in this song at points. Wow. Oh! One more time on that ending. There's that F sharp 5. I love that we hear, it's almost the middle line that stands out at the end there. Valhalla calling me, which I think is probably what Jay's singing, I'd guess. We're actually hearing, because Jeff's holding on the tonic, I think Jay is ending on the 5th. Valhalla calling me. And Caesar, I think, is ending on the 3rd. Valhalla calling me. So you got me, down at the bottom, wherever Jeff is at that point. That's a really lovely open chord to finish on. Very, very effective. What did I just do for an hour and 26 minutes? Oh! I'm sorry, I've got to. Where is it?
Ships on.
Oh! This is...
Ships on vigor of the waves are skimming bearing.
That's unreal! Okay, I'm done now. No, go away, adverts. I said go away, adverts. What? Actually, what? Oh my... My brain is melting from what I just saw over those two reactions and those two analyses. And, oh, I am sure I missed a ton of stuff in that because I was just too busy gawping at points, I think. I tried my best, but... I am a very happy bunny right now. And I'm going to go and hew some foemen. No, I'm not. I'm going to go and feed the cat because I'm sure he's probably getting hungry. I think my cat's more of a Viking than I am. Wow. Firstly, I love that there's a through story to this, and that it's a through story that was carried on over a period of time. I'm kind of interested to know, did they... Now, I appreciate that Caesar is a full-time member of VoicePlay. Was there any discussion about getting Jose back to do this? Or, maybe he was unavailable, or was that just not a thing? They just decided to go with Jay as the guest for this, which also makes a huge amount of sense. I don't know, just curious. Oh, I just saw this was actually filmed at the View Studio, which was the production team I was talking about when I was going over the credits. Okay, I missed that when I was going through. Yeah, fair enough. That's wonderful in so many ways. I don't really know what else to say other than I have just had my mind blown and melted simultaneously, and I'm here for it. That was incredible. I love that sound, that particular style of music coming from them, and I love how they then contemporized it in both videos really effectively. Like the first one, just kind of bringing in individual techniques, like it didn't sound like they'd gone full contemporary, and it's almost like without even realizing they were going to do it one day, they left the door open to go even further, and you get that full synth effect, the rap, like it really pulls it into a true contemporary sound whilst also being very, true as far as I can tell to the sound of the song as it would have been originally. I am mind blown. I read somewhere that Gavin Dunn, Miracle of Sound, actually sent them a compliment, rating it 10 ale horns out of 10. I would say go up to 11 because it's one bigger. I'm going to go and melt in a corner. I feel like I've been saying that a lot recently, but just wow. That was amazing. I have nothing more to say. I just loved that so much. I don't even know which of the two I prefer, or if I do, I think I might just like them as a whole. We'll see. I need to listen to them about 1 million more times, basically. That's what I've learned from this. But that was astonishing. Thank you very much for watching this video with me. If it's, I know I'm late to the party with this reaction. I knew I was going to take longer with this because I wanted to do My Mother Told Me at the same time, which is why I took my sweet time getting to this. I do appreciate your patience because I know a lot of people have been they've been writing to me saying, "Oi, why haven't you done this one yet?" I appreciate your patience. Thank you for sticking with me if you're still here. This is a long video, and I'm very grateful to you for watching it all. Please do hit the like button down below. Do subscribe to the channel, whether you add notifications or not, but feel free to do that also. And then if you would like to, head to buymeacoffee.com/DavidKReacts, and I will be very, very grateful. That would be fantastic. There will be another video coming soon. I haven't decided what yet. This was kind of like the last in my latest tranche of planned videos, so I'll figure out what that's going to be, but it'll be something cool, no doubt. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Have a wonderful afternoon, evening, nighttime, whatever time of day it happens to be, wherever you are. If it's 2:15 and 17 seconds right now, wherever you are, then I just blew your mind. No, I didn't. That's rubbish. I think my mind is gone from watching this. Take care. I really appreciate you checking this out, and I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.